Hello, I'm Sojourn and welcome to the third edition of Unmatched Action Reports. So today I got something different. I'll be doing a report on two other players' match. So the two players are Joe-Nathan and Blakpantha. You'll find them quite often looking for games on the Discord channel. So if you're ever looking for games online, just look for us on the Discord channel, the Restoration Games Discord channel, and let us know. So today's matchup is Bruce Lee against Dracula on one of the new maps from the Little Red versus Beowulf set. So on the first pass, it seems that Bruce Lee might have an advantage against Dracula, considering that due to Bruce Lee's ability to hop away at the end of his turn, it will be near impossible to trigger Dracula's ability. But if you really think about it, Dracula has many kind of defenses that totally shut out the Jeet Kune Do combo. So he got multiple dashes that allow him to escape and just break the combo chain. He has the 3 standard feints. He has double do my biddings, which can effectively substitute out Jeet Kune Do for a simple feint or regroup or anything else you have in hand, thereby breaking the combo. Other than that, Bruce Lee, I think, is somewhat vulnerable to the beast form attacks by Dracula. So, his defenses are at best only a 3. And, I mean, there are skirmishers, but I think you'll want to use them for attacks instead, especially if you're Bruce Lee. So, he got to watch out for the beast forms. Anyway, let's hop right into it. Alright, here we have a nightmare scenario for Dracula as Bruce Lee opens with a perfect 1-inch punch. And with the 1-inch punch in hand, Dracula's sisters are more or less dead. So wanting to hit out the 1-inch punch, I think, Dracula used the sister to attack Bruce Lee with an ambush. So he would have a 20% chance to knock out the 1-inch punch. Unfortunately, it knocked out a Jeet Kune Do, but I think it knocked out a pretty good one. If I'm not wrong, it was the one that basically a momentous shift, a better momentous shift. If either fighter started in different space when the Jeet Kune Do was used, you counted as a 5. It's boost 3 too, so Bruce Lee takes a couple of points of damage. Actually, Bruce finishes off the other sister and seeks to rebuild his hand. What Dracula is doing here is that he's hiding his other sister as much as he can. And has a full hand of 7. So as Bruce Lee, you got to be a bit wary of this. Hopefully you have a feint just in case a beast form occurs the next turn. But Bruce Lee does an interesting play here. He uses a regroup. So regroups in Bruce Lee's decks are a bit better than usual. So they all come with a boost value of 2, but in most decks, regroups are only boost value of 1. So they make it particularly useful to boost with them in Bruce Lee. So he boosts and runs across the map, shutting doors along the way, and just punches the sister out of her undead life. Dracula comes in, boosts his way in with a useless sister card at this point. And does an attack. So what he did here was a dash, but if I were him, I would have actually used a feint because with this Jeet Kune Do out already, it was a very high chance that Joe would play a Be Like Water. Because with 4 of these in the deck and with you drawing about 1/3 of your way through already, it's a very high chance that one of these will be out. and ready. So with a feint, you cancel this out and leave this out. And instead, use this dash. Even if you land up, you end up right beside Bruce Lee that for next turn, this dash will be able to break any Jeet Kune Do combo. Joe maneuvers, runs away. And with his 3 movement, does some fancy door opening and closing. Dracula boosts his way in now. Wait, did he even have to boost him? Yes, he did. So using a Ravening Seduction, probably lesser valued because there are no sisters around. Hits Bruce Lee with an exploit, which was fainted away. Still, that's 2 solid points of damage in. So, what I think happens next is a critical moment in the game. So they're both at about equal cards. Bruce opens with a Bring It On, despite Dracula already being next to him. So what this signals is that he's getting ready to use the Jeet Kune Do, the better momentum shift Jeet Kune Do, the one that deals 5 damage as long as either of the fighters were started on a different space. So first thing he did was naturally Jeet. That particular Jeet which I was talking about. So with Look Into My Eyes, this was effectively 4. So he simply took 1 damage. So Joe brings it back to hand. But this time, Dracula, seeing that he had to stop this, he just fainted away. So this went about as well for Dracula as you hope to be. So with both 3 cards in hand, I guess he was thinking whether he should run away. But I think this was where the mistake became even more critical. He decided to use to expand his 1-inch punch to do 2 instant damage to Dracula here, instead of probably saving it in hand. Because Dracula still could bring back a couple of his sisters, and saving this for them would have been probably a better idea. Probably if he brought back 1 more, you just used it on a sister, and then the second one you can just ignore it. This kind of also signals to Dracula that could be running out of cards. But Dracula kind of lets Bruce off at this stage. Bruce, interestingly, decides to be a bit more aggressive, despite being with fewer cards in hand, and he discards a skirmish as a boost. I think this was a mistake because skirmish is a very good attack card for attack. It would be able to deal quite a bit of damage to Dracula, who could only use one of his probably dashes or something like that. And I think this was kind of too telegraphed also. So he boosted with a skirmish to get in range of Dracula into a momentous shift. But with a Do My Bidding, it's kind of obvious that the last card in hand would be that Bruce Lee was setting up for a Little Dragon. So with a Do My Bidding, which doesn't just function as a Jeet Kune Do combo, it functions as a Little Dragon killer too. So he replaces the momentous shift with a Little Dragon, and the attack kind of fizzles out. Still draws 2 cards though. But I think this didn't go so well for Bruce Lee. As in, I guess the reason why he used stuff like the 1-inch punch before that was that he was trying to set up for a little dragon. But I think that's probably one mistake that, especially if you're new to Bruce Lee, you always try to do like some funky combo with Little Dragon, trying to have it land as a 6. But I think you shouldn't think of it as that way. Instead of trying to set up your hand and doing all sorts of suboptimal plays to get it land at a 6, you should think of it as a by the way thing, as a get out of jail kind of last ditch effort. Instead, think of Little Dragon as a better regroup, regroup plus, if you will, where you're going to draw 2 cards even if you lose. So using this as an attack, I think is a good idea actually, to keep your hand full, keep your Jeet Kune Dos up. And well, if you somehow manage to trigger the 6 through some weird circumstance, then sure. But otherwise, most good players will know how to play against your Little Dragon, as we can see here. So both heroes are about the same health. The Jeet Kune Dos, most of them aren't played yet. So Bruce tries with a Matches Shift, which Dracula smartly uses an exploit on, keeping his hand advantage to, right now he's up 6 against 3. So at this point, Dracula kind of still has to play smartly. Although the Dracula player slightly has an advantage, if he's not careful, if a Jeet Kune Do combo can be put off, he would be in trouble. So as a Bruce Lee player, if you want to gauge how well you are doing, in order to win the game, you probably need at least, the whole point of the Jeet Kune Do attacks is to try to land undefended attacks. So if you manage to land 1 or 2 of these, then I think you're in pretty good shape. So he dashed out of a Jeet Kune Do combo again. And the next couple of turns are just both characters drawing back up to 7, trying to recharge. At this point, Bruce should be very wary of a beast form. That's why he used a feint. But that was simply a feeding frenzy. So this exchange went very well for Bruce. So Bruce started off with Jeet Kune Do again, but Dracula managed to dash out. I think Joe also forgot and left some of his Jeet Kune Dos in his discard pile. So at this stage, I think Dracula is really building up for his beast form combo. Plinking damage on Bruce Lee as much as he can with the Ravening Seductions. The last one, I think he used the first one as a boost earlier in the game. So here we have an undefended attack by Bruce Lee on this sister, which I think wasn't necessary. I really think this skirmish should have been used on Dracula instead. So using the free movement from the skirmish, he brings himself closer to Dracula and tries a Jeet combo again. But with 2 might bidding, it's problematic. And this is where we see a very good play by the Dracula player. He replaced the Jeet not only just breaking the combo, but he wastes a feint by a Bruce Lee. So this really telegraphs that Dracula has a beast form in hand and is just waiting for the opportune moment to use it. So at this point in time, a couple of feints, or all three feints have been used. And Dracula just doing 4 points of damage as much as he can, making his beast form easier. So with another prey upon, without a skirmish as a defense, Bruce Lee is in very dangerous state. Because right now, with beast form, that's 6 cards. So 6 cards, you simply need 5 more cards. Yep, 11 points of damage, and you will be able to break through a Be Like Water, Momentous Shift. And I think the skirmishes were used out already. So Bruce attempts to deal as much damage as possible, so he skirmishes in. And I really think he should have saved this as a defense against beast form. Attacks again. And got his other Jeep fainted away again, unfortunately. So Dracula is really very slippery. It's very hard to get him locked into a Jeet Kune Do combo. So at this stage in the game, time is running out for Bruce Lee. He hasn't dealt enough damage to Dracula, considering that Dracula still has a couple more healing cards. Dracula continues to build up his hand again, just waiting for that perfect moment, beast form. And yep, most likely he does it here. Seeing all feints gone, seeing all skirmishes out, he goes in for the killing blow. Beast form plus 5, 6 plus 5, that's 11 against a 3. Alright. So that's quite a bit of damage done to Bruce Lee, and Dracula wins the game. So in this matchup, I think Dracula does have an edge, especially piloted by competent players such as Blakpantha. Otherwise, I think some of the critical mistakes such as trying to taking suboptimal plays, trying to set up that little dragon, I think that was what killed Bruce Lee. I hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough, and see you in the next one.